Welcome to Politics Done Right, live from Netroots Nation 2022. Today I'm honored to be with the founder, the publisher, the extraordinaire Markos Moulitsas. Markos, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely all
Nice
the time.
little rig you got here.
Well,
Very impressive.
we gotta keep things going. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and not only that, we have to make sure that when this stuff appears on DailyKos, everybody see the guy who founded it the right way, right?
All right. Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been up to? Because you don't do the daily stuff at DailyKos anymore, right?
No. I like to do more. I do more of the strategic work.
Right.
And honestly, the last couple of years, I had to step back for family reasons. I have a teen daughter who had some mental health struggles during the, particularly exacerbated by the pandemic.
Right.
So that took a lot of my energy. And when you're like worried about somebody's
It's hard.
life. And I have full custody of her, right? So she's my responsibility,
Right.
as a single dad. So I had to put a lot of energy into that. So it was hard for me to focus on things like work. So I sort of stepped back. The good news is the school's reopened. She's had a lot of great care. She's doing a lot better. And so I've been re-engaging. You may see that I've been doing a lot more writing,
I noticed.
particularly covering the war in Ukraine, and starting to really delve more into the politics of this November election. I have my own podcast as well.
Tell us about your podcast.
So DailyKos The Brief with Carrie Eleveld, who's a staff writer at DailyKos, who covers elections. So we're really sort of digging into the meat of what's happening in November. And I think now people are realizing that abortion and Dobbs and Donald Trump are having an impact that is busting the expectation of a typical midterm election, which normally are a referendum on the incumbent president.
Right.
We were talking about that a year ago, back when there was no evidence other than like, this has to probably have an impact when the Supreme Court does X, when Donald Trump starts raising hell. And so we're feeling a little vindicated right now.
But it is funny because I was speaking to Yvette Simpson earlier yesterday, and I said, the problem is everybody is talking about history as if while history can be probative, it doesn't have to be repeated. And they have been a lot of our intelligentsia have been living the history of the past. Well, history is the past, but that's what they've been living. And a lot of us have been coming out and saying, no, let's make history. Let's create what needs to occur. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, for me, it's even been less than creating history. To me, it's first of all, history assumes a certain baseline of normalcy.
Right.
There are examples in our history, like after 9/11, where the political situation isn't normal.
Right.
And thus people react differently. And the key sort of underlying theme of a midterm, the reason a president's party loses power, loses seats in a midterm election, is because that election is a referendum on that incumbent president.
Right.
Our system is designed to reward people who promise things to get elected.
Right.
And then punishes them by making it near impossible to accomplish anything.
Right.
And if you do, you have to compromise severely.
Right.
Because you have to get through two chambers and then you have the Supreme Court as well. So it's impossible for the incumbent president to really meet expectations.
Right.
It literally has never happened in the history of the world, right?
Right.
And there's a reason Joe Biden has a 38% approval rating right now.
Which is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah, he's terrible. We don't have to pretend otherwise.
Yeah.
It's because he can't live up to the expectation.
Right.
And in this case, it was Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema.
Right.
But the system is designed that two people you can't even have a basic majority and govern.
Right.
So that's the normal election. In 2002, which was right after 9/11,
Right.
the incumbency, if it was a referendum on George Bush, people liked how he handled the war in 9/11. So that was, this case is really funny because what we're seeing is something I don't think I've ever seen, is a bifurcation of the approval ratings of Democratic candidates and Joe Biden.
Exactly.
Because suddenly this is no longer a referendum on Joe Biden.
Right.
This is now a referendum on the Supreme Court. Because the party in power is not Biden. The party in power is the Supreme Court. They are the ones that are legislating from the bench now. And so now Republicans will say, no, you know what, obviously Biden's in power. They're fired up. Like, we're not going to pretend anything else. They are going to come out in big numbers, just like they did in 2020. The difference is our side is like, no, we're not in power, and we're fired up because it's the Supreme Court. That's the difference. And everybody sort of has forgotten that Joe Biden exists, right? I mean, he's almost irrelevant to the equation. And so the second piece is now Donald Trump. Again, how can you have a referendum on an incumbent president when the ex-president is essentially running for president right now?
Exactly.
So we're back to 2020 dynamics.
Right.
It's a general election dynamic. So if you think about Joe Biden, you think, well, there's Donald Trump.
Right.
But I think in our side particularly, you're not even thinking that. You're thinking my right to an abortion has just been restricted. And Clarence Thomas wasn't even like dog whistling about it. He said, I'm coming for your contraception rights. I'm coming for your same-sex marriage. The only thing is what's interracial marriage, because it affected him directly. But the underlying legal premise
precedence is actually from that. Yeah.
They're all the same. It's the underlying right to privacy.
Right.
So we don't even have to, there's a lot of, sense of Democrats crying wolf on abortion, right? Because we kept saying they're going to want to take it away and then they would never go away. Well, now they have. And now they've given us a roadmap to everything else they're coming after. And so these are extraordinary conditions, circumstances that have nothing to do with Joe Biden.
Right.
I mean, the last guy, he's running, and there's
and
also,
he's taking up all the airtime.
Yeah, and criming, and there's all the investigations, and him being who he is, and then there's the Supreme Court overruling basic rights, and so what does Joe Biden have to do with any of that? Right. And so suddenly it's no longer a referendum, which thank God, because if it was a referendum on Joe Biden, we'd be sunk. Then you have the Republicans making the campaign about the economy, about gas prices, and suddenly gas prices are dropping. Inflation suddenly
abating. It's zero right now. Yeah,
maybe even a little negative.
Yeah,
things. Big news on like chicken wings are now back to pre-pandemic prices. Eggs are coming down. All these things that people were obsessing about and Republicans thought was their campaign are suddenly not that big of an issue, to the point where Fox News is hilariously schizophrenic. One day they're like, literally last week, I think on day one, it was gas prices are going up and it's Joe Biden's fault. And then the next day, gas prices are going down and small businesses are suffering and it's Joe Biden's fault.
What do you do?
Yeah, right? Like, okay, you got nothing. So now they're going after IRS agents. And
now they're coming with AR-15, the IRS guys,
So they have nothing. And they're flailing because when the press talks to them, or even voters, they're asking about Donald Trump. And they don't want to answer questions. Or they're asking about abortion. And they don't want to talk about it. They're the proverbial dog that caught the
But you know what, Markos? I am a bit sometimes upset with the mainstream press in that they don't press Republicans hard enough on the things that they do.
Yeah, of course not.
I don't think they press hard enough. When you talk about the Supreme Court, it's interesting because back at DailyKos.com, I wrote an article talking about how the Supreme Court was going to be the institution that caused minority rule if left unabated. And it's exactly what has started to occur. So, we've been doing that for some time. Now, I also believe what we have known as the likely voter model is completely off. I'm curious to know your thoughts on that.
Right now, it's the everybody's voting model.
Right.
I mean, the people are going to vote. And what's amazing is we're starting to get really good polling out of Senate races, right? So we had a poll out of Wisconsin by Marquette.
7 points.
7 points. Now, Marquette's it's one of the best pollsters. This is, there's pollsters that are like, okay, Marquette it's one of them, Ann Seltzer in Iowa. These are the pollsters, when you look at their numbers, they're pretty spot on.
They're close, yeah.
They did voter screens, and the more they loosen the screen, in other words, the more people they assumed would vote.
Right.
A tight screen says like young voters aren't going to vote, and people of color aren't going to vote. Like you loosen it up, more and more people are going to vote. Like a general election, more people vote for president than they do in the midterm. The more they loosen the screen, the better
Democrats appear to
Democrats do. And by all indications, they are going to vote.
Right.
But here's what's crazy is a tighten the screen, Democrats were still, I think it was like a 1 point difference, right? I think it was 7 with the white screen.
Yeah.
So it means that even in a universe where it's a tight, mostly Republicans voting because it's a midterm election, Democrats are still winning.
Yes. Yeah.
And that says a lot. And we don't even have to look at polling. We can look at actual actual election results. We've had 3 special elections since Dobbs.
Yes.
Not including the Kansas.
That's the one I'm centering on. Yeah.
Not even including Kansas.
Right.
There have been 3 House special elections.
Right.
Before Dobbs, Republicans were outperforming their 2020 numbers by 3 points. That means there were 3 points more red than in 2020.
Than before, yeah.
They would take control. With that, they would take control of the House and Senate.
Right.
In the 3 elections, small sample size,
right.
but in the 3 elections since Dobbs, Democrats are outperforming Biden's numbers by 8 points.
Imagine that.
It's an 11-point swing.
Imagine that. That's an 11-point swing.
And you're looking, Target Smart data showing that there is a huge gender gap in new voter registrations,
right.
in partisan affiliation in those registrations.
And in people that have never voted.
Yeah, but our people.
Yeah.
Trump's still been able to get some people that never voted that, are political nihilists.
Right.
Mired in their racism or whatever.
Yeah.
But we have a harder time getting our people to vote than they do.
Yeah.
Because their base is white, older, male, rural.
And it's easier for them to vote.
So much
Come on, in Texas, you can vote with a gun license, but not a student card.
Yeah.
Come on.
Of course. So the dynamics have shifted dramatically. The shape, like what you were getting at, right? The shape of that likely voter screen is different. And so I am putting a lot of stock, not just in the polling, which is looking better and better, but just in those election results, what we've seen, in who has turned out for the primaries.
Right.
People, liberals, Democrats, want to vote, even if there's nothing on the ballot worth voting for.
Right. Yeah.
And there's this whole model that uses turnout in the Washington primary to predict general election turnout.
And what does it say?
It said that it was about +2, +3 Democratic electorates. And there's nothing on the ballot in Washington.
Just that. I got laughed at a few weeks ago, and I said it's turning. I actually think we're going to hold the House. I don't know what you think.
I'm feeling okay on that.
I am feeling
not great. Okay.
I know. I'm still.
I'm feeling great about the Senate.
I am feeling. Oh, I think the Senate is +3.
And McConnell already
gave it away,
right?
Yeah.
He'd say yesterday he was like,
bad candidates.
Yeah, the quality of the candidates matter.
But it's not the quality of the. If the dynamics were different, Herschel Walker wins.
Ron Johnson is a good candidate. He's won twice.
Yes.
We're going to pretend he's a bad candidate?
And a black guy wins in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
But then again, he won the general election for lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
But look, Markos, what did I not ask you that you would have liked me to ask you?
I don't know. I think we covered it. I mean, this is not a typical election. I will say this. If you remember, go back 10 years, maybe even 5 years ago, Republicans like to say this is a center-right nation. Remember that?
Right.
Center-right nation. It's a center-right nation. Center-right nation.
Praise in no way. Yeah.
When have they said that lately?
That's true.
It's been a few years.
That is true.
They're not even pretending anymore. That's why they're doubling down on voter suppression, on using the Supreme Court to invalidate liberal policy, the filibuster. They're using every tool possible to entrench minority rule because they've even given up. Yes. They're not even they were pretending before.
Right.
They're not even pretending anymore. They know they're the minority party.
Markos Moulitsas, Chairman, Founder, DailyKos. Thank you so kindly for this interview.
Pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.